going to get right into it. Jobs report came out on Friday, and it's the number 139,000 came in, I think above estimates or above.
Yeah, that's right, above expectations.
But there's worry under these numbers. I mean, certainly that number's down from the previous month, which I believe was 177,000. And inside of the other data that would be associated with this, unemployment stayed the same. However, we know that federal job cuts are coming. And we also know that tariffs, I believe checking in somewhere in the neighborhood of like 6.7% right now. But within the next month, they would be close to, or actually exceeding twice that, showing up around 14%. So, we started talking about jobs, a little bit, over, in the last conversation that you and I had sort of offline. It'd be great to be able to pick that up and to share it with the folks.
Yeah, I mean, totally. Look, 139,000 jobs seems like a normal jobs report.
Yeah.
It's actually slightly lower than the pre-pandemic average in terms of monthly gains. And that's not the part that worries me. In fact, the 139,000 jobs, was okay. The part that worries me is the increase in long-term unemployment. The part that worries me is the declining labor force, right? The part that worries me is, the fact that is the breadth, where basically you're now seeing half of the sectors reported by the Bureau of Labor Statistics showing a contraction, cuts to payrolls. That's the part that worries me.
So what are you seeing in long-term unemployment? I just tried to pull up this chart from the Bureau of Labor Statistics. And I mean, I'm looking at it and of course, this, if you look at this, and we encourage, people, who listen to the show, watch the show, to go ahead and do, some extra, learning on your own. Like, utilize the conversation that we have to spark something and go out and explore it to whatever degree that you would like. I'm looking at a chart again at the Department of Labor, at Department of Labor Statistics, and it looks like that unemployed 27 weeks or longer, which is that measurement, right? I mean, that's their standard measurement. It appears to be pointed down in the last measured, month.
The fact that people have left the labor force.
Yeah.
Means the total number of unemployed, is is lower than it would have been had those people stayed in the labor force, right? Remember, we only count, and the labor force counts people who are unemployed, looking for work, job seekers.
Right. And that's not, I mean, that's not an insignificant caveat. Looking for work. That right. Those who have just sort of left the show, they're not going to show up in the statistics.
That's right. And unfortunately, the labor force is sliding, which means that when you have a 4.2% unemployment rate and people say, well, it's fine. The unemployment rate hasn't moved. Had you left those people in the labor force, had they stayed in the labor force and were still counted, the unemployment rate would have been higher than it is right now. Right. And so that's important, I think, to mention. The other thing that I was going down the list of things that worry me was, I mentioned, right, half of the sectors actually cut payrolls. We're not talking about just slowing down here. We're talking about a contraction in half of the sectors. And basically the only increase is coming from a handful of sectors that are still adding jobs. That to me is worrying. And if I want to add, and by the way, Chris, you know that I am usually very optimistic, and that for me to start sounding the alarm, means maybe people ought to pay attention. We had downward revisions totaling 95,000 jobs in the past 2 months in March and April, right? So we overcounted. And by the way, revisions are great. That's, we love revisions because they give us a clearer picture of what's going on. The likelihood, and if you've been following the stuff, the likelihood of seeing an upward revision is very small.
I can't remember the last time that we've seen an upward revision. I mean, and I mean, I'm not being facetious when I say that. I cannot remember an upward revision. Of course, in 2024, by the end of the year, the downward revisions totaled, I think it was 880,000 or something like that. I mean, you're talking about that's a significant number,
That's a lot of jobs. And so you had 95,000 downward revision in March and April. I wouldn't be surprised to see a downward revision in the May numbers as well.
Yeah. So I had said in the previous month that the number came in at 177. That's true. It was reported at 177 for April, 177,000. And that's already been revised to it's already been revised to 147,000. So at least the numbers, but this information is coming faster, which I think helps us to, more than read the tea leaves here. So what are you expecting, in the coming months?
My forecast says is an increase in the unemployment rate to about 4.5, 4.6%.
Okay. We're about 4.2% right now. So I mean, just
4.2, we're going to see an uptick. And it will have a lot to do with whether or not we can get a trade deal.
Yes.
I know
multiple trade deals, and not just a single trade deal.
That's right.
We've got a lot of trade deals that need to be put together here quickly.
That's right. Because right now business confidence is not great, and businesses will not go out and spend, invest, hire, expand, without the confidence that growth is not subsiding and that, that the policy environment is not going to shift, from under them very quickly. And so that's why I continue to see the labor market cooling. I continue to see, I know people are worried about inflation. I'm less worried about inflation as I am about a decline in aggregate demand that basically mitigates, if not even more than offsets, any, potential, price pressures. And so that's kind of what I see right now. It sounds very optimistic, very pessimistic.
Yeah, I was going to say that doesn't sound optimistic at all.
I am usually very optimistic.
Yeah.
Look, let me end on a positive note. The good thing is that, when you look at household finances are still in a pretty good place. And so, even when compared to before the pandemic, if you look at things like, the share of, personal income, disposable income spent on debt, it's very low. Lots of people got a chance to refinance their mortgages to very low rates and have very low mortgage payments. And by the way, a housing payment is the largest of most households' expenditures. And so that has been a tailwind, for household finances. It's been able to support many households. And so I think we're still in a good place, but things are cooling so fast that people are thinking now, I think households are now moving into, precautionary savings mode, right? Holding back, pulling back. And the more you pull back, the less spending, the quicker, right? You end up with this, snowball effect where basically the economy continues to slow rapidly. The Fed is going to have to cut interest rate. It might not do so next week at the June meeting, but it's going to have to cut interest rates, before the end of the year to keep this expansion going.
Well, I appreciate your thoughts as always. We'll bring it to a close there.